It is another Razorback game day, and it is against another top 10 team. Can the Hogs bring a little bit more magic back to Razorback Stadium for the second time in a row and make a little history in the process? We'll find out in just a couple hours. I'm Alex Stewart, alongside me, Robin Hearn. Robin, a ton of excitement for this, the battle for the Golden Boot today.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, it's homecoming weekend, so we've seen a lot of Hogs out here getting excited for this game, and it's a night game, so you know Razorback Stadium is about to be rocking.
And red out. And we have seen plenty of red as we wandered around. I actually got to go through Hogtown, which is just behind us down here by the stadium. I got to walk through there a few hours ago. It was already popping about 4 hours before kickoff. You had the vendors, you got the band playing. I mean, these people are excited. They are ready. They want some Razorback football. And I mean, I know I've only been here for a year, but this is the highest level of excitement that I've personally felt on the Hill, and there's a good reason why.
Exactly, you should be feeling that way, especially if you're a Razorback fan, after the Tennessee game a couple weeks ago. So if they can bring that energy into this week's game, especially with the fans being able to have a lot of energy, causing 4 false starts against Tennessee. So we'll see what happens there, but we'll talk a little bit more about the game. But Alex, this game is so historic because it is the battle of the boot.
Yeah, a 200-pound, 4-foot-tall golden boot that, of course, for those of you that may not know as you're watching this, is just the state of Arkansas and the state of Louisiana. Looks like a boot. But there's a ton of history behind that, although Arkansas has not been doing overly well in the series recently.
Nope, and LSU's been taking care of that one as they lead this one 44-23-2. And here in Fayetteville, LSU is 5-2 and won the last 7 of 8. The last time Arkansas won was in 2021, but that one was in Baton Rouge. But here's the thing, Alex. So LSU is going to be wearing their all-white unis today.
Okay.
They've been wearing those all-white unis since 2011, and since they've worn it, they have gone 3-2, but they've won every other game. And guess what?
What are you about to tell us, Robin?
2023, when they wore it, they won. So maybe when they wear it tonight, it might be another loss.
So that's a pattern that we hope holds, a pattern that we are hoping maybe does not, is that the last 4 games between these two teams have been decided by a field goal. Not a field goal or less or more, a field goal, 3 points. Can Arkansas overcome that?
We'll have to see. I mean, with Travis Williams' defense, which we will talk about a lot later, could be possible, but it's honestly going to be on the offense today.
And really, this is just one of those cases, and why college football is so amazing, that rivalry games are always competitive. Hardly ever do you get a case where it's a blowout one way or the other. It doesn't matter the ranking, doesn't matter if they're the last team in college football in terms of how well they're playing. They always play each other well, and I would expect nothing less from this matchup tonight, which, as you said, could very well come down to Arkansas's offensive efficiency. Robin, what are you kind of looking for from the Hogs today on offense? How do they build on what was a quiet but necessary performance against Tennessee?
Well, I'm looking at Taylon Green. After getting banged up there late in the Tennessee game, I want to see how he bounces back. He is going to be playing today. Sam Pittman did say that, so I'm interested to see how that's going to be. But Patrick Kudus is going to be back from injury today, so having him on the offensive line could help out with protection, which in the Tennessee game, the protection was amazing against LSU's defensive line.
Yeah, the Vols are, I mean, it didn't look like it, but they are one of the most feared pass rushes, not only in the SEC, but in the country, and Arkansas pretty much stymied them. I mean, apart from that Green hit, he did flush from the pocket a couple of times, but when they had to have protection, they held up, and that allowed Taylon to really move the ball down the field. It allowed the run game to be productive, which I think is going to be a massive key to winning this game again tonight. I think the strategy 2 weeks ago, rather, against the Vols was time of possession. Arkansas needed to control the ball, and to control the ball, they needed to run the ball, keep the clock moving, and I think that's, again, something they're going to have to do against an explosive LSU offense. Keep Garrett Nussmeier and those receivers off the field so that your offense stays on, and wear down that LSU Tigers defensive line that is 6th in the country in sacks, 21 this year.
Well, where they're good in sacks, they kind of lack a little bit in the rushing defense, as they're 13th in the SEC in rushing and 14th in passing and 14th in total defense. So this could be a good way for Talon not to only show off his arm, but show off his legs as well and get that defensive line trying to have that pressure, but not so much.
Well, and that's sort of something that we saw last week against Ole Miss in terms of the LSU Tigers defense. I don't think anybody is going to say Jackson Dart is an overly mobile quarterback for the Rebels, but he was finding some seams and picking up some big chunks for Ole Miss. So imagine what happens when you get Bobby Petrino's offense with an extra week of prep with a quarterback that's known for running. I think Talon's legs could be massive in this game. And then, of course, you've got the two-headed beast in the backfield right now, Jaquindon Jackson and Braylon Russell. Those two are animals for the Hogs, and I would expect them to see a heavy workload.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to see Braylon Russell in work again today, because against Tennessee, we were able to see him do really, really well and actually lead the team in rushing that game against Tennessee. So hopefully this will be a great for both Jackson and for Russell, but also for Green as well, because he needs to be able to use his legs.
Well, Robin, we've talked quite a bit about the offense. We still have a few more points to go, but we want to turn to our point specialist, Parker Abels, who is back in the studio. Parker, we got Parker's points the last time we did this show. It was such a great segment. We had to bring it back. So let's send it back to the 5 News studio. Parker, what are your offensive points for the Hogs to get a victory today?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. To me, there are 2 big points the Hogs have to emphasize to give themselves a chance to pull off the upset today against the LSU Tigers. And the first one to me, protect Talon. The Tigers' front 7 has been making a lot of big plays so far this year. The Tigers are 5th in the nation and 2nd among Power 4 teams in sacks this season with 21. That's led by Braden Swinson, who has 7 already through just 6 games. The Tigers have 9 players with at least 1 sack on the year. The Hogs' offensive line is going to have to step up, or else we may see something similar to that Texas A&M game where Green was constantly getting pressured and even lost a couple strip sacks in that game. And that leads me to my second point, in which is to attack the LSU DBs. Now, I'm not saying the LSU DBs are bad, but they definitely are the weakest point of this Tiger defense. They only have 3 interceptions on the year. 2 of those are which by Zy Alexander. So maybe don't test him too much. But last week we saw Ole Miss throw 50-50 balls to their receivers who would come down with them. And when LSU's front 7 is preparing to come at Talon, getting the ball out quick is key. And Green will have to execute those throws. Now, I'll be back in a little bit with my point on what the Hogs defense has to do to get the job done. But Alex, I know you've been in studio all week studying this Tiger and Hogs team, and I can't wait to see what you found. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, well, Parker, I think you made an interesting and astute point that Arkansas's passing game is going to need to be quick. They got to get the ball out fast, and I think that goes into wearing down that Tigers defensive line. Make them go side to side, make them run the field, get them tired so that later it's a little bit easier for the Arkansas protection to hold up, because to me, I think that's where Arkansas can really have the biggest impact, is through the biggest plays. Ole Miss had 6 passing plays go for 15 or more yards. It's called an explosive play, and Bobby Petrino's offense loves explosive plays, but they've got to have protection to make those happen. Arkansas's offensive line, to me, biggest X factor in this entire game, not only for the run, but those explosive plays, and those passing plays of 15 or plus yards is what I took a look at in this week's film breakdown. Take a look at what I found in that LSU secondary. So what can Arkansas's offense do to upset another top 10 team, this time in number 8 LSU? Well, I think it might come down to explosive plays. In their game against Ole Miss last week, the Tigers gave up 6 passing plays of 15 yards or more. So this secondary is susceptible, especially in the seam. And you know Bobby Petrino's offenses like to attack those. Check this out, right? This wide receiver, he's just going to work up the field, find a seam in between the 2 safeties. It's basically the same play that was dropped by the Rebels earlier in the game. They came right back to it, and it's a very similar result. Backroom, go ahead and roll the play. It's super simple. He pushes off the line. He's going to move to the middle of the field. Good protection, of course. Arkansas's got to have that to even hit these, and he's just right in between everybody in the zone, makes the catch. And just to show you that it's not a fluke, let's go ahead and jump later in the game, and I'll show you something very similar. Now, the outcome of this play is going to be an interception, but it's the same basic concept, and as you'll see, that receiver is behind the secondary. There he is, pushing up the field. He's going to get behind the defense. The protection holds up. Again, that's going to be critical to Arkansas hitting these. And back room, go ahead and let it roll. You'll see it. The play action reads the field, makes the throw. And again, I remind you, this is intercepted, but look where he was. Behind the secondary. I think this Arkansas Razorbacks team can take advantage of this Tigers secondary, hit some big explosive plays. They just got to have their linemen stay sturdy and keep Taylor Green standing. But look for Arkansas to hit a couple of these throughout the night. Look, Robin, being a former quarterback, I know it's the pretty boy position, but I always love to give the big boys up front, doing the dirty work, the Hogs, some love. And I really hope that they hold up tonight so that maybe nationally they can get the recognition that they deserve. But we have spent a lot of time on the Arkansas offense against the LSU defense. I think it's time that we flip it, reverse it, Missy Elliott style, and get to the Tigers offense against the Arkansas defense. What are you seeing from the Bayou Bengals?
Well, it's all Garrett Nussmeier. That quarterback is exciting and explosive, and he is the main reason why they are second in the SEC in passing right now. That is very important, especially for Travis Williams' secondary. We talked a little bit about LSU secondary. This Hogs secondary needs to contain their guys like Kyron Lacey and also their running backs that can also get out there and do some receiving as well. So we're going to have to see this Hogs defense be able to shut things down. And I'm also looking at Xavier Story, who had 40 tackles so far this season, and he is doing pretty well. And also the big guy, Landon Jackson.
Yep. Yeah, Landon is going to be critical. He hasn't had the big senior season that he was hoping for in terms of statistics, but he's one of those things, his presence is felt all the time. It's like when you go to church, right, they tell you that you can feel the Holy Spirit all around you.
Amen.
That is like Landon Jackson. You may not be able to see him all the time, but you can always feel the impact that he's making on the game.
Exactly. It's like, I always feel like somebody's watching.
Look at you going to the Halloween hymns.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll stay on brand with that one.
But we got to talk about how scary this Hogs defense can be, especially against Tennessee. Able to hold them and able to hold their quarterback the same way that they should be able to do it today. But I'm looking at that secondary, like I mentioned, 11th in passing in the SEC. And with this LSU's offense being so explosive, that is scary.
Well, look, Garrett Nussmeier, I believe 5th in the country in touchdown passes with 18 so far this season. 6 of them going to Kyron Lacey, as you mentioned. He's also the team's top receiver, over 600 receiving yards for the Bayou Bengals this year. They've got to shut those down. Now, where LSU's offense is lacking is in the run, which might be able to play into Arkansas's strategy. Now, how were they so effective against stopping Tennessee? Well, we took a look at it a couple weeks ago. They implemented a brand new defense. It was like, surprise, Vols, 4 days. You ain't prepping for this. You ain't ready. They came out in a 3-2-6. That just means 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs. Now, what that allows you to do is put athleticism across the field, and that might be exactly the prescription that Arkansas needs to take down. Not more cowbell. Yeah, we have enough of cowbell. But that might be the prescription they need to stop this Tigers offense. Don't let those receivers get up the field. Don't let them get vertical. Don't let them have those explosive plays.
Yeah.
And I think if they can do that, make LSU run the ball, I think Arkansas has got a great opportunity to win today.
Yeah, the defensive line is going to be able to hold the rush pretty well as they're ranking up there in the top 10 in the SEC. So I'm looking to see how they're going to be able to hold their running backs. Should be easy for them, hopefully, but Garrett can even spread his legs a little bit. Yeah,
and we saw that there on that final drive against Ole Miss. He broke the pocket, got outside, and I believe it might have been on one of the 4th down conversions, made a huge play because he bought time. And that's something that Arkansas has to do. Garrett Nussmeier is not known as a mobile quarterback.
Not at all.
But he can run.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something Arkansas, T. Will, has got that defense ready and prepped for. And speaking of prepped, Parker is prepped with more points back in studio. How much alliteration can I fit in there? Geez, Parker, why don't you take it over? What are your points on Arkansas's defense against this Tigers offense?
Yeah, Alex, now the Hogs defense is once again going to have their hands full tonight, as you guys mentioned, but that hasn't stopped them over the past few games against good offenses, and there are a few things the Hogs will have to do in order to stop this high-powered LSU offense and to start they're going to have to put pressure on the Tigers quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier. Now, Nuss is a junior with some experience, but this is still his first year as the full-time starter, and he's already thrown 6 picks this year. Against Ole Miss last week, he made a few bad decisions with pressure coming at him, and with the way this Hogs front seven is played, they can get to him again this week. Now, LSU has a great O-line, only giving up 2 sacks on the year, so it may not be sacks, but getting pressure on him and forcing him to make the wrong read is vital for this team. My second point is to make LSU one-dimensional. Now, they're going to make some throws, they're going to get the ball to their receivers, but if they can't establish a running game, it'll be hard for them to keep pace and force LSU into some 3rd and longs. That'll really start to put pressure on Nussmeier to make big-time plays, and luckily for Arkansas, stopping the run has been one of their specialties so far this season. Now, that's a lot easier said than done, but if the Hogs can do those things, I like their chances to stay in this game and potentially get the win. Now, Alex, I know you couldn't give us just one study session, so I think there's a little bit more for you to say. What do you got for us this time?
Yeah, see, Parker, we spent a lot of money on that touch screen. And so they're insisting that I use it as much as possible. And you actually got the opportunity to use it a little bit as well. That coming up later in the show with Parker's predictions, more alliteration. He just got such a good name for that.
It's perfect.
A lot of things flow with it.
Thank you to Parker's family for that.
Yes, but we have to take a look at what Arkansas's defense can do against this LSU offense. I was at the touch earlier. Take a look at how the Tigers are going to try and use explosive plays to get past Arkansas's secondary to be the offense that we've seen through the first couple weeks, despite struggling in the first half against Ole Miss last week. If Arkansas wants to upset top 10 teams in back-to-back games for the first time ever, they're going to need to have their defense perform close to, if not better than, how they did against Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Now, LSU's offense may, in fact, be more explosive than the Volunteers, although you wouldn't know it if you watched their game against Ole Miss last week, at least in the first half. In the second half, the Tigers found some things that were working for them, namely motion and empty sets. Take a look at this, right? This is on that game time drive in the fourth quarter. They're finally starting to get rolling. Garrett Nussmeier's getting his rhythm going, and the play calling is on point. They're going to have motion across the formation into a 3-receiver set, something that they were really loving during this play, and during this drive rather, and this receiver's just going to drag across the field for a big pickup. Back room, let it roll, and of course the protection is going to be all around Garrett Nussmeier. Arkansas is going to have to get pressure on him, move him off his spot, but there was the motion. There's the drag across the field from that 3-receiver set, and what those 3-receiver sets do makes communication very hard on a defense as receivers release and switch and move and go all over the place. And speaking of going all over the place, let's go just a few plays later in this very same drive. We're going to see something very, very similar. This running back now going to motion out to the flat to, you guessed it, a 3-receiver set. Garrett Nussmeier once again going to get good protection from his line, and he is going to absolutely drive one into a slot receiver who goes up the field for the game-time touchdown. But again, it's coming out of motion and that 3-receiver set. Back room, go ahead and let it roll. The snap, the receiver just finds the seam, and Nussmeier delivers a dart. Arkansas is going to need to get pass rush on Garrett Nussmeier, get him uncomfortable, and they're really going to have to win some one-on-one matchups with these receivers. Be wary of those stack formations, the releases, where those receivers are going. If Arkansas can do that and keep LSU from running the ball, I know this sounds like a lot, but it is. In order to beat the best of the best, you've got to be able to do everything great. I still think Arkansas has a chance to do all of that and emerge with another top 10 upset later today. Look, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it all comes down to up front again for Arkansas. They have got to get a pass rush on Garrett Nussmeier. They have to get him off of his spot because, as you saw in that film breakdown, when he can stay in the pocket, even if it is a little bit dirty, a little bit grimy, he can still get the ball out, find his open receiver. So they have got to move him off of that spot. It's going to come down to the offensive line and the defensive line for Arkansas. They said they wanted to be a physical team. Embrace that hog, is what Sam Pittman said. They have got to do it today.
Okay, yeah, and they need that energy tonight as well. But One thing for me on my radar today is going to be a couple of different points. We talked about Travis Williams' defense, talked about Taylon Green, but we didn't really talk about somebody else on the offense that I've been looking at that has been kind of flying under the radar recently. So let's get into my radar points here right now. As the main reason for that win over Tennessee, it was Arkansas's defense, obviously. 100%. And LSU is coming in 5th in total offense, and they know how to throw that ball. We talked about their quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier. His arm is amazing. That junior is 2nd in passing offense in the conference, averaging over 330 yards a game. So it's going to be a big game for Travis Williams' secondary to get those Vols to just 158 receiving yards 2 weeks ago. My next point, turn to the Hogs offense, as Taylon Green has to have a good game. Things were going well for Green before getting injured late in that game against Tennessee. He had over 260 passing yards, but looked pretty good on the ground as well. So I'm looking toward him to see how he bounces back with 2 weeks to recover and having that nice bye week in there. And lastly, still on the offense, like I said, under the radar, that wide receiver, Andrew Armstrong, who's having a great season so far, over 500 receiving yards with no touchdowns. And I know that is hard to do, but it is impressive. So we're waiting, and I'm watching for Armstrong to have that very first touchdown of the season. And honestly, with this receiving defense with LSU, could be coming tonight.
I was going to say, Robin, I know we can't bet on college athletes in the state of Arkansas, but if I set Andrew Armstrong's line at half a touchdown, would you say over or under tonight?
I'd say over.
She says he's going to get it. He's finding the end zone tonight.
He's going to get it.
And I would agree with you on the Taylon Green point, right? How healthy is he coming into this game? If I had to guess, I would say I'm going to go 95%. I mean, we saw him post-game with the win over Tennessee.
Yeah.
He was out celebrating with the fans. So you're out partying. I get that an injury suddenly goes numb when you got a party going on with 76,000 of your closest buddies. But like you said, rest recovery, what is it? Rice elevation, whatever it is. Probably doing a ton of that, plus they're paying their medical staff at the University of Arkansas for a reason. So I think they're going to have Green good to go for tonight. Now, we've talked plenty about Arkansas's offense. We've talked about Arkansas's team. We've been hog, and we should, because when you look around us, we are in a sea of red, and we've got the lovely Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium behind us. But there is a second team involved in tonight's game.
Is there?
I guess so.
Okay.
The LSU Tigres? I don't know. The Tigers? Regardless, earlier in the week, I got the opportunity to speak with our sister station down in New Orleans and their sports director, Doug Mouton. He gave us a nice perspective on this Tigers team, kind of broke them down so that we didn't have to, as in depth, we could focus on the team that really matters. So let's go ahead and jump to that conversation I had with Doug earlier this week and see what the LSU Tigers bring in and how they're going to do tonight against this Arkansas football team that is no doubt ready to rock and roll. Doug, thank you so much for joining us from Louisiana. We appreciate it, although a little hostile here on game day. Friendly interstation rivalry here.
Yeah, and look, I have been to that stadium for a game before, back in the Jarvis Landry era, and it's an awesome place to see a college football game. I wish I was going to be there Saturday night. I will not, but it's a great place to watch a college football game.
And though we may be enemies, we do have that one thing in common, all the fans storming the field and a nice hefty fine coming out of the school's pockets. So while we may be battling on the gridiron, we do have some common ground.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, a little aside, what they do at LSU is they bring out this row of security to the back of the end zone. That's right where I actually was at the end of the game. And everybody in the stands knows the security can't physically stop anyone from running on the field. So it's almost like when they ran the security out, the people in the stands went, oh, wait, are we supposed to storm the field? It's almost like they were telling the crowd, oh, we expect you to storm the field. So then the crowd obliged and stormed the field. But it was almost like they inspired it with the security in the end zone.
As much as we both loved our respective storm in the field games, that is living in the past. And as we know in this industry, it's all about what have you done for me lately and what is coming up. So let's go ahead and use that to sort of segue into this game. You were talking about Ole Miss and that big win, 6 sacks for you guys in that game. And that was really the key to victory because your offense just really couldn't get going. Do you see that being the Tigers' path to victory this week against Arkansas?
Yeah, look, no question about it. And look, that has been the big key, and that was the big revelation in the game against Ole Miss. LSU's offense has sputtered, and it certainly did in the first half. It did get better as the game wore on. But what was so different about this game, and such a revelation for LSU, was the pass rush they were able to get against Ole Miss. And the guy is Braden Swinson, and you'll see him. Braden Swinson is an All-American. He is as good a pass rusher as I have seen in America this year, and he dominated single-handedly the Ole Miss game and what he opened up for the other guys to get sacks. Braden Swinson was the difference in the game as much as any single player. And then how LSU grows on offense, to me, is the other big key. Look, Garrett Nussmeier has sputtered, I would say, through the first half of the season. Against Ole Miss, terrible first half, a really bad interception that cost LSU. Then in the second half, he got better and better and better. The question is, will that translate? Can he keep that going? Can he continue to take a step forward? Because if he can, LSU's got a great shot to be a playoff team. If he can't, and the way LSU, their inability to run the ball, a lot is going to be on Nussmeier's shoulders. If Nussmeier can keep that going, I think LSU's got a great shot. But I'm really curious to see if the gains he made against Ole Miss will continue against Arkansas.
We've talked about the offense. We've talked about the defense. You've given us X factors. So I think there's really just one thing left to do, and that, sir, would be your prediction, Doug. What is the outcome of this game?
I think it's going to be a close game, but if I had to bet it, the way I always say it, like when I have people on one of my shows, I'll say, I'm giving you $100 and you have to bet it. So that's the way I would say it. Like, I don't think I'd bet my own money on this game just because I legitimately think it could go either way. But if I had to bet this, I would bet LSU straight up to win in a close game. I wouldn't play the points because I wouldn't be surprised if it's a one-point game either way. But I would bet LSU straight up to win. And I would say I don't feel great about that bet, but if I had to, I think overall from like an NFL standpoint, LSU probably has a little bit more talent, and I would bet on that in a game that I think is going to be really close and really fun to watch.
Doug, thank you so much for joining me, giving us the LSU side of things, and I'd say good luck, but you know.
Yeah, it'll be fun either way. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. No problem. It was an absolute blast talking to Doug. A lot of great insight into this LSU Tigers team that we otherwise wouldn't have. But I got to say, hearing him talk, while he's confident, he's wary. I could see that he is very, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but he acknowledges that Arkansas is a very good team. And I've been saying that for quite some time, really since your alma mater, Oklahoma State, beat the Hogs in a game that everybody, let's be honest, they should have won. They should have won that game.
Okay, so I agree with that. I do. It was not a pretty game, but since then, Arkansas has gotten better and better and better. And we saw it in the Texas A&M game, even though it was a loss, but it was still close, even in that Tennessee game. So I understand why the Tigers might be coming in a little uneasy into this one.
Right. And in fact, that A&M loss is actually looking better and better and better as the Aggies are starting to find their footing this year and are showing that they probably should be ranked. Well, I guess Missouri has kind of fallen apart since that point.
We won't talk about that.
But we're not going to talk about that point. The fact is, the matter is, A&M looks really good. And with 2 losses, Robin, I'm not taking crazy pills here. This isn't Zoolander. I'm not on crazy. Arkansas could still make the college football playoffs. Now, is it likely? I mean, they're going to have to go on
Never say never.
Never say never is right. They're going to have to go on a magical run, like the type of stuff that legends are made of.
Something they'll make a movie out of one day.
But a big-time bowl game, not out of the picture for the Hogs, and we are back to Parker with, do you want to guess the alliteration on this one?
Let's see, Parker's points, Parker's path?
Parker's path to, I guess he kind of loses after that, but Parker's path to a bowl game. What does a win tonight mean for Arkansas? And what does a loss mean for Arkansas tonight? So Parker, go ahead and take it away. Break out your crystal ball. What do you got for us?
Games like today against top 10 opponents that can really define an entire season for a team. So let's walk through what the Hog season could look like with a win or even a loss tonight. Obviously, we have to start with the win. So let's say the Hogs beat LSU tonight. We'll put a W right here. And to me, that gives the Hogs at least 7 wins, because you look at games like Mississippi State, we'll put a W here. I think they win that game, and Louisiana Tech, you have to imagine they're going to win that one. That's 7 wins. Now, anything can happen in the SEC, especially games like Mississippi State on the road, but I'm going to count that as a win. And then when you have the momentum after beating back-to-back top 10 teams, I'd go as far to predict a win against at least Ole Miss or Missouri. Now, they might drop one of those 2 games, but I'm going to say they win at least one, and that's going to put the Hogs at 8 or 9 wins. Now, of course, you look at this Texas game at home. That's going to be a tough one. Now, obviously, the Hogs have beaten a team with the initials UT that wears orange in Fayetteville once already, but the way the Horns are playing, I just can't see that happening. Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, it doesn't matter who's quarterback for the Horns this year. It looks like they're going to win, and with a 9-3 or 8-4 schedule, here's some bowl games that look promising for the Hogs. We have the Relentless Bowl in Tampa, Florida, which usually goes to mid to top tier SEC teams and Big Ten teams. So you could see the Hogs playing a team like Michigan or Illinois in that game. The Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, which could be either SEC, Big Ten, or ACC. Of course, the world famous Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, another game between SEC and Big Ten, which means a potential matchup with a Michigan type team again. And lastly, call me crazy, but the college football playoffs are still in play for the Hogs with a 9-3 record. Of course, they're going to need help from Texas A&M as well as some other schools like that. But that's the beauty of the 12-team college football playoffs, as it gives every team a chance past those 2 losses. Now, of course, this is highly unlikely, but still possible. However, a loss today for the Hogs, and, well, that just about ends all those chances, as we're going to look back at the schedule. So this time, we're going to put an L right here. Now, I still do have a W next to Mississippi State and Louisiana Tech. And now, to break 500 in the regular season, the Hogs are going to have to pull off an upset for one of these 3 games. Now, I still have that Texas being an L, but they could still pull off an upset with Ole Miss and Missouri. And you look here at the bowl games the Hogs are looking at with a 6-6 or 7-5 record. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl in Memphis, one that is familiar for Hog fans, which is a likely scenario. They'd be playing a mid-tier Big 12 program such as West Virginia, or maybe a matchup with former Hog KJ Jefferson and Central Florida. The Las Vegas Bowl is an option as well. That one is a Pac-12 SEC battle. However, the Pac-12 is almost out of existence, so it's looking like Washington State or Oregon State are the favorites to play in that one. The Texas Bowl down in Houston, another Big 12 SEC game where the Hogs would have a similar opponent as the Liberty Bowl, and the Birmingham Bowl, where the Hogs would take on either an ACC team such as Duke or Virginia, or an Upper American team like Memphis or North Texas. Well, as you can tell, there's still a lot to figure out for the Hogs this season, and the game tonight against the LSU Tigers is a huge factor in which way the season is going to go. I'll be back with score predictions, but for now, Alex and Robin, back to you at the stadium.
Yeah, I really like what Parker did right there, because he had the optimism, but he was also very realistic with where the Hogs are probably going to end up, and a lot of research went into that. And it's interesting for those of you that may not know, maybe the casual football fan, the bowl game schedules are set. It's conference versus conference. So that's why he was able to kind of go through, pick out SEC team versus
Big 12,
Big 12, whoever it is. So, you know, obviously the bowl criteria is 6 wins. Arkansas just needs a couple more to get bowl eligible. They're right there, and I like their chances, as he said, to get 2 wins. If not tonight, you got Mississippi State, should win.
Louisiana Tech, that's
and
a good
Louisiana
one.
Tech, which would get them in.
Yes.
Which is, I think, what everybody here in Fayetteville is just craving at the moment, Robin. They want Arkansas to be successful, get into that postseason, and just see that we're going in the right direction. Because last year was such a down year. You know, Sam Pittman on the hot seat. I think it's cool just a little bit. But we got to see some indication that stock is rising for Arkansas.
Yeah, and a lot of players spoke to it during fall camp this year, that they felt like this team is different. And you can see that now with the camaraderie and with Bobby Petrino being able to lead on this offense, and then Travis Williams. I keep saying his name because I just think he's such a great coach. Bobby's a great coach, and so is Sam. But I'm just saying what Travis has been able to do with this defense so far this year, super impressive. And it's super impressive, not the fans, but it's super impressive to all people like us.
Well, here's the thing, right? Sam Pittman, proven on the offensive line. Bobby Petrino, proven as an OC. T. Will is in his 2nd year as a defensive coordinator here. And look, Arkansas, if anyone in the athletic department is watching me right now, pay the man. Because if you do not pay that man,
he's gone.
He is gone like yesterday. We want T. Will on the hill. Will on the hill. Keep him here. Now, Robin, we've talked a lot about a lot of things here. Parker's broken it down. You got a couple questions here you want to fire off back and forth as we near kickoff. Let's go ahead and check the old watch here. We got, about an hour and a half before this party gets rolling here.
So my main thing for you, Alex, is what are you looking for from this offense? We talked a lot about the defense. They've shown and they've proven that they're able to help win games, but the offense has to put up points.
Absolutely. And I think, again, it all starts with that offensive line, Robin. They have got to hold up in protection, because the fact of the matter is, as much as old Sam Pittman would love to run the ball 57 times and call it a day, 3 yards and a cloud of dust, that's just simply not the reality of what this game is going to be. They're going to need to throw the ball. And as you saw in the film breakdown, as you saw with Parker's points, that LSU Tigers secondary is susceptible to the explosive play. And Arkansas is going to need to hit a couple of those tonight to pull off the upset. But I got to say, offensive line.
Okay, now let's talk about that defense.
Sure.
T. Will doing his thing there. Defensive line able to hold, but also they got a couple of sacks in the last few games. So what are we going to see from this defense, especially that secondary?
Yeah, they got to win one-on-ones, Robin.
Right.
That secondary is going to have to match up with these LSU receivers that, as you pointed out, are very talented. In fact, a lot of people think LSU should be WRU, Wide Receiver University. They put out products like Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Jamar Chase, currently in the NFL, Justin Jefferson.
Just to name a few.
Just a couple. But they know how to put out high-quality receivers that can compete at high levels. So Arkansas secondary, you've got a challenge ahead of you, and you have got to prove that you are up to it. They've got to win one-on-ones, and then just be smart, communicate. A lot of what was happening with the big plays with Tennessee, simple miscommunication. Arkansas's problem this year, I've said it, they're a good team, if not great. They just need to be consistent.
Yes.
And that starts with the communication and doing your job. Don't do the guy's job next to you. Do your job. You play disciplined football, you make the physical athletic plays, and I think Arkansas's defense can hold up against the Tigers offense that is really top tier, but I think Arkansas has a chance to prove so are they.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, we've talked a lot about this game. Obviously, it's coming up pretty soon. But Alex, we have to make our predictions.
We do, but Robin, can I just squeeze in a couple more points right
go
here?
ahead.
It is spooky season, right? So I kind of wanted to theme things up a bit in terms of Halloween. Just talking horror movies, right? I love them. I don't know if you're a fan of horror movies.
I don't like horror
not.
movies.
Not, but some of you out there probably do. I know our cameraman Sam does, so he'll probably appreciate some of these references. Because Arkansas looking to be the Freddy Krueger for the Tigers tonight, right? They want to make it a nightmare. So how do they do that? Well, first movie we're going to reference, The Shining, right? You know Red Rum. Well, they need to red run, Robin. They have got to run the ball, right? In this red out, give the fans in red something to cheer about. They have to control the clock just like they did at Tennessee, just like we talked about earlier in this show.
Yeah.
Red run. Hogs run the ball, keep Garrett Nussmeier and that offense off the field. Second point on defense, we can't have Halloween talk without mentioning the OG Halloween movie, Halloween. That defensive line, it's got to be like Michael Myers. It's got to keep coming. They cannot be stopped. I mean, no matter how you try and put dude down, he just keeps on with that slow walk, chasing him down. That's got to be Arkansas's defensive line. Michael Myers, this thing, keep coming. Do not let up. Keep Garrett Nussmeier uncomfortable. Now, as it pertains to the crowd, and I don't think that this one's going to be an issue, but it cannot be the silence of the hams. I know, it was a little cheesy, but I had to squeeze it in, right? You mentioned
Silence of the hams.
Off the top of the show, 4 false start penalties against Tennessee. The crowd, even if Arkansas falls behind, they've got to be engaged all night tonight.
I don't think it's going to be a problem. Like I said, it's homecoming weekend. They're ready. The alumni are here. They're on red.
And as you look around, they're absolutely ready. So no silence of the hams. I promise it's my worst pun of this one. And a couple quick other ones here. They're looking to pull out maybe a little trick or treat tonight. Sam is one of the main characters in that movie. Well, our Sam Pittman, I think he's going to bust out a little bit of trick to try and get a treat. Don't be surprised if he has a trick play or two up his sleeve, ready to break out to pull off this upset. When you go against top teams like this, you got to break out something special. So don't be surprised, a little trick or treat. But don't get crazy with it, Robin. We're referencing Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman, don't lose your heads. You've proven you can compete with good teams. You've proven you can beat great teams. Stay cool, stay calm, communicate. And if they can do that, keep their heads on their shoulders, I like their chances in this game. And finally, the masterpiece of horror movies, the GOAT of horror movies, The Exorcist. Can Arkansas exorcise the demons of games decided by 3 points against LSU? And not only that, Robin, can they exorcise the demons of losing one-score games? They started well last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, against Tennessee. But once is an anomaly, two is a trend. They have to exorcise all those demons. And of course, they got to exercise the demon of losing another one to LSU, which they've done quite a bit in this series. But Robin, I think that's all the Halloween that I've got. Oh, one more exorcism.
Oh.
One more. They have never beaten top 10 teams in back-to-back games. Can they exercise that trend? 0-16
Well,
all
let me
time.
give you another.
All right.
They are consecutive after a bye week, winning back-to-back games. They've done it every single year. So we'll see what happens. Maybe that trend continues, and then they break a nice little record there.
Well, I think, when we're digging into the trick-or-treat bag and pulling out references, I think we've about reached the point of the show where it is predictions, Robin. And I think, let's send it to Parker one more time. Great first impression. Parker, are the fans going to be happy tonight on this homecoming against another top 10 team? Can they exorcise the demons? What is your prediction? Arkansas, number 8 LSU, kickoff in just about an hour.
Alex, they are going to have a great game. They're going to be loud. I think you said it's been a 3-point game the last few years, and I don't think that is going to go away. They're not going to be able to exercise that. I think it's going to be a 27-24 ball game. However, I am going to have to take the Tigers winning this one. They're just too good this year. It's going to be a good game, though. Hog fans, I know, are going to be ready to go, fired up. But LSU is going to take this one 27-24, unfortunately. But Alex, Robin, what do you guys got?
Robin, you want to go next on the last thing they remember so they can be mad at me?
Okay, we've talked about it. These games have come so close, especially a field goal close. And I think it's going to happen again. Unfortunately, I'm taking LSU in this one, but I want the Hogs to prove me wrong. I need them to prove me wrong. I want to be proven wrong. I'm okay with saying I was wrong.
You know, and that's very big of you, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things a person can do is admit they were wrong. And I'm hoping that I say the same thing. We're going to go 3 for 3. I have LSU winning this one. I'm going to go 27-20. They break the field goal trend. But look, this Tigers offense is just good. They're number 8 in the country for a reason. Now, that's not to say I don't think Arkansas can't win.
Oh, yeah.
It would not surprise me. It's what Sam Pittman said after the Tennessee win. They're happy. They're not surprised. I would not be surprised if Arkansas won, but man, this LSU team is really good. And I know there's no such thing as a moral victory and a loss, but it feels like it could be one of those games. I got it 27-20 LSU, but don't be surprised if Hogs pull off the homecoming upset. Robin, I don't think our viewers are too happy with us.
And like I said, we all want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. Trust me, with this energy, they bring it like they had with Tennessee.
Yep.
This will be a different outcome. Last time ended with them storming the field, beating a number 4 team. We'll see what happens against number 8 tonight.
I know the university's bank account probably is like, if we lose, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but wouldn't be shocked to see another field storm. Robin, to quote the great Bob Ross, the old clock on the wall is telling us it's about time to go. It is 4:43, an hour and 17 minutes to kick off to Arkansas against number 8 LSU. Can they pull off another top 10 upset in Razorback Stadium? We are about to find out. So, signing off for Razorback Game Day. Our pregame show is a wrap. I'm Alex Stewart.
Robin Hearn.
And this has been your Razorback pregame show. We'll see you tonight in the 10.